Welcome to Show Me Your Stack. Let's deal the deck and see what tech tools are coming up for today's special guest, Chris Bryant. Let's shuffle up and the high stakes reveal of the tech tools that are aces in our Super Guest Books decks. Today I'll be featuring special guest Chris Bryant. Chris, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Certainly. So my name's Chris Bryant. I am the owner of a HubSpot Diamond partner, Bryant Works. I've been working doing this kind of thing for almost 10 years now. I've been remote for about 7 years, so I guess I have quite the tech stack.
Awesome. Love that. I'm so excited to hear. So let's go ahead and jump in with your fifth favorite tech stack. We're going to count down from 1 to 5. So let's start with number 5, also known as our 5-card draw, the river card.
Sure. So the fifth card here, the fifth card would be Notion. So I use Notion as my team's internal project management tool, and I also use it for a public-facing wiki where I kind of have like some HubSpot best practices and tips and things like that. I have used it at prior companies, and I kind of stuck with it on my side because I already know how to use it. It's very versatile. It's nifty little. They've recently launched an AI feature to it where you can just ask Notion a question and it will come back with internal knowledge-based articles if you have them. So it's great for documenting internal stuff, but also it's probably not the best project management tool, but I like it because I have a relatively small team, and it seems to work well for that regard. I've asked everyone and they say it works well.
Awesome. I am familiar with Notion. I used it at a previous company, and I agree with you. I love that app mentions. I think that's really helpful, especially when you have a smaller team. So love that. All right, let's go to our turn card, our 4th favorite tool in the tech stack.
Sure. So this one might not be a surprise, and maybe it might be a surprise that it's not number 1, which is HubSpot. So I use HubSpot, of course, for managing clients, mostly to manage and report on the number of clients I have, productivity things inside my own account, and then, of course, being a HubSpot partner, how I engage with other HubSpot employees when we work on things together. I do send out, some marketing emails, like some biweekly HubSpot tips and tricks. If you want to, you can sign up for that on my website. But that's really, I am probably a lighter HubSpot user for as many clients as I help. It's that classic case of like the cobbler's shoes are the ones that are fixed last. So I should probably adopt it more internally, but I do adopt it quite heavily. But yeah, I would say it's number 4.
Awesome. I love that. Interested to see where HubSpot falls within all of the Super Partner decks.
Yeah.
And so I love that. All right, let's move on to our 3rd tool, which we call the flop card. So this is your make or break.
Yeah. So for this one would probably be Slack. Me and my team live inside of Slack heavily. In addition to that, I am connected with almost every client of mine who utilizes Slack on Slack. So heavy users of connected channels. My Slack workspace is crazy. Whenever I look at like the sidebar, I'm in like maybe 20 other Slack workspaces. And then I have probably like 50 connected channels with various clients. So Slack is it should probably be closer to 1 or 2, but number 1 and 2 are very good too.
I love that. Are you a Redbubble person? Like, can you leave notifications unread?
Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. Yeah, I am a inbox 0 person myself. So having any notification at all is like a clear it out. Like my inbox is always clean. So I can't stand seeing the little red bubble. The little white bubbles are okay because like I have my notifications set up to just like only tag me if I'm like at mentioned. I ignore channels and at here's because I've told clients like just at me, don't do the whole thing because it's way easier for me.
I agree with you. I also am an inbox 0 person. No surprise to anybody on my team about that. But there's a few people at Super that are not. And when they share their screen, we actually love to like play a guessing game with how many notifications they have internally. So keeps things fun.
Yeah.
Definitely it's like type A, I don't know, there's 2 kinds of people in this tech world.
For sure.
So,
my wife is on the other end of the spectrum, where like she just looks at, whatever's most important. So
That's my husband. I get into his personal Gmail all the time and delete stuff. So
Yeah.
you don't need all these. I'm unsubscribing from 50
Yeah,
things
yeah.
today. All right, let's move on to the whole card, which is your number 2 favorite tech stack tool.
Sure. So this one's a little bit of a tool that I have never really seen anybody else utilize. I picked it up almost 5 years ago, and it's called Sunsama. So I use this tool. It's very much like a Todoist or a Trello type app, but Sunsama, the way that it organizes stuff is by day, not by status. And I really like it because I can look at my week and say, here's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And I just see the things that I have outlined for myself to do those days. It also lets you put in like a weekly goal as like one bigger task. They've added in other features too, where like if you connect your email, you can actually like drag an email from the inbox over to like, and say, I'm going to tackle this thing this day, and just drag the email over. If you check off the box on the email, it actually archives the email inside Gmail, but I don't really like that because I always like to respond like, oh, this is taken care of, that sort of thing. But I have used that thing for such a long time now. I was surprised at when I went back and looked at it to like when I had initially signed up, but it's a super cheap tool. It's like maybe $250 a year, maybe $300 a year. And I've used it for a very long time. It does have integrations with Notion, Asana, all those other tools like that. I just don't use them because it's super easy for me to just go in, type in a headline, link a document, and then when I get online the next morning or whatnot, I can just look and say, okay, I'm doing this on Thursday, I'm doing this on Tuesday, I'll push this to next week.
Right.
It does have recurring tasks and things like that. So I have things like, oh, remember to contribute to your IRA, or oh, remember to check this or that. So I have a mix of like personal and business things on there that work really well.
Chris, as you're talking, I'm pulling this tool up, like frantically searching to learn about this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this was built for me. I color coordinate my calendar for like tasks. Yeah. I'm like,
yeah.
Oh,
the other nifty thing is like you can yeah, and you can pull your calendar in and like drag a task to the calendar, and it'll like create a block for an event on your calendar at that time too, which is really nifty.
Yeah. I'm like automating all of this. I love that, like you had talked about HubSpot being number 3. I also am like you. I don't love to over automate things. Like I still send all of my emails manually and things like that.
Yeah.
So I use a template or a snippet and then
Sure.
edit them from there. So I do that with my calendar, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this tool is built for me. So
Yeah,
I'm
I love that tool.
right after this call. I'm
Yeah,
so excited.
it's a great one.
Awesome. All right. So let's go ahead and move to your ace in the hole tool. You cannot live without this tool.
So this tool would be Wavebox. Wavebox. So much like yourself, you're an inbox zero person. Wavebox is how I'm able to manage, because I have a couple other email accounts where like I help other HubSpot partners and I have a branded domain with them. This is a tool that is a desktop application that lets me create different instances of Gmail or other apps. So like in my Wavebox account, I can quickly flip between 3 or 4 different email accounts, my personal like Gmail account, my business account, some of those are the branded accounts, as well as pinning apps. So like I have a tab for Sunsama, I have a tab for Notion, I have a tab for HubSpot. So that way, like I'm just in one desktop application and I can quickly flip through the different applications that I'm using. So this is like the tool that combines all the other tools together. So that's why it's number 1, and like HubSpot's not higher or whatnot. I keep Slack as a separate thing. You can connect Slack, but because I'm in so many workspaces, it just doesn't make sense. Right. So I'm basically just like on my desktop, I'm only really looking at 2 apps for the different notifications. One, Wavebox, because it surfaces notifications in every email account. So I'm able to stay in inbox zero across like 4 different accounts, as well as check out HubSpot, check out Notion, check out Sunsama, all those things in one central spot. And it all has like different cookies. So you could be like logged into different things without having to actually like log in, log out of those things. So you can flip between different logged in accounts, which is really nice. I used to use, I think it was called Shift, but it was like a ram hog. And I just stopped using that tool because it does basically the same thing. It's just like Wavebox is way better optimized.
This just changed my life, these last 2. Like, I have been complaining because I also organize my tabs. I'm like, I have my CS tabs, and then I have my super general, and then I have been complaining that Google has not found a way to organize tabs with pinning and notification mechanisms for years. I'm like, how did I not know about this?
Yeah.
And Steve, our CTO at Super Nino, he is a big advocate for working at coffee shops and getting
Okay.
out in this remote world. And he told me that one of the biggest things to learn is how to work off one screen. Finding
Well,
tools that allow you to work
yeah.
off one screen so you can work wherever you're at. You can, take advantage of a coffee shop or a meetup or things like
Yeah.
that. So I'm like, this tool allows
That's
for
a
that.
that's a great thing to think about too, like working off one screen. I personally have like three big monitors that are like arced around me, and it's impossible for me to work off one screen. Like I just can't work. I just get frustrated that I have to work off one screen because I'm so, and it's not even me, like, because I have very little applications open. Like I'll have a browser, I'll have Wavebox, and I'll have Slack. So it's only like three things, but I am like over here, then here, and like dragging things across, copy pasting, looking at a reference to then doing this. So that's a challenge
Right.
to work off one screen.
It's funny because earlier in my tech career, I was a field marketing rep, so I traveled a lot, like
Oh, okay.
6 weeks a year. And so I only worked off one screen. It was like the original MacBook Air, like 12-inch, and it never bothered me.
Yeah.
And then as I, started doing more project management and things like that, and then got more stationary at home, I got comfortable with my setting. And now I'm like, we have the coffee shop feature on Fridays where we're featuring a different coffee shop and product release every Friday.
Yeah.
And so I told Steve, I'm like, I'm trying to navigate going back to one screen. So I think both of these tools,
Maybe these will help.
Samsama and it was Wavebox,
Wavebox. Yep.
will help me. So I'm going to dive into these and see what they have to offer.
Yeah. They're
Cool.
great.
All right. So to recap your 5, we have your first tool was Notion, number 5. Then we went to Slack, then to HubSpot.
HubSpot, then Slack.
Swapped, right?
Yeah, you're good.
And then number 2 was Samsana, and 1 is Wavebox. So let's shift gears a little bit. Those are currently tools that you're using in your everyday tech stack in your workflow. So let's move into our high rollers corner. This is our wish list. Like, I want to be in the high rollers corner. I'm super cool. What would be your jackpot tool? This can be an up and coming tool, a tool you're waiting on, a tool you've heard rumors about. What do you think?
Yeah, so I think the one tool that I'm really interested to see, like where it goes, is HubSpot's latest acquisition with Clearbit. I imagine that come September at Inbound, we'll all get a big sneak peek. I know that they're doing a big product release or big product update here in like a couple of days, but I don't think it's about Clearbit. I'm very excited to see what they do with that tool because HubSpot has kind of stated that like HubSpot will just absorb the company and Clearbit will cease to exist down the line. So I know that HubSpot will eventually turn in their own data offering, but I'm very excited to see what that actually turns into because so many people use HubSpot and so many people use a data enrichment tool or they want to use a website intent tool or something like that. And everyone's really interested in that. I know Clearbit already has that today in a free capacity and it is really good. But I want to see that stuff brought into HubSpot, which I think a lot of other people want to see too.
I totally agree. I'm, as super focuses within the HubSpot ecosystem. I'm hearing that a lot from partners and seeing how all of that will work in the future. So also really excited. This will be my first Inbound.
Okay.
I've heard it's a great time. So
it is very good.
Excited for that. All right, let's move on to our final card, the wild card. This is your absolute wish list tool. If you could design, you're on a product team or you have VC funding, what do you do with it? What do you make?
So that's a really good question. I think one of the things that I'm really interested in from a tool perspective is kind of, it's not even a tool. It's more so like combining a lot of these multi-channel things that people are doing. So you've got tools like Surf, tools like Slack, where your customers are, Surf, where you're doing LinkedIn stuff and all that stuff to kind of combine it all underneath one hub. I know HubSpot, of course, but if there was a tool that could combine all those different channels into one singular thing, so that way you have a singular prospecting, similar to like HubSpot's prospecting workspace, where like I have one spot to go to and I can just kind of like look at what my day is, who's interacting with me, who's engaging with me, that sort of thing. That would be the tool that would be for me. Also, another one, and this would just kind of coming off the back of another conversation I had, was how we always have these note takers, more so a note taker that is proactively listening out for you to say like, hey, remember when you said that you were going to do this thing in that recording that I definitely have in my note summary? You need to do that thing, or like follow up on that thing. That would be another great like listening for intent signals inside of like a transcript or something like that. That'd be another great tool to have in the pocket.
I like that. We internally use Grain. But yes, I get what you're saying. Like the key
I use Fathom, and it does really well for AI summaries. But it's difficult to like follow up on some of those things, or kind of keep track of them. I guess that's my qualm.
Right. I would love that because, as you know, at Supered we send recaps after every single time we meet. Matt calls this his bluff statement, and so it is part of our super DNA. We all do it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're going to make a tool that's going to do this for me, an action item, because that would be amazing. Yeah. So I love that. Cool, Chris. Well, thank you so much. This has been really insightful. I've learned about 2 tools I had no idea existed, which is really exciting. Any parting thoughts? Anything else you want to share on your tech stack or?
No, I mean, the thing that how I learned about those 2 kind of sleeper tools is it was really more so trying to find something that fits my work style. So like I encourage people not to just like use a tool because it's popular or because other people use it. Like make sure that it's a tool that can adapt to yourself. I don't know how big, Sunsama's or Waybox's user base is, but it was big enough for somebody who'll make those things. So that's kind of where I sit at it. I would be heartbroken if one of those tools were to disappear because they are like integral to my workday.
I like that. I like that where you're being intentional about your tech stack. And that's, I think, the big shift in tech right now is there were so many tools launched in the 2015 tech boom. And then with the mass layoffs and things and budget cuts, it's been how do we get intentional and what works and what doesn't as we're slimming down the tech stack. So
for sure.
Awesome. All right. Well, the house always wins. Nobody goes to a casino every single time and wins. So we're going to take this as a supered win. I learned about 2 tools, one that I'm taking to Steve and one that I'm taking to Matt. So that's definitely a win for me. We'll be sharing this podcast on all of our supered channels and LinkedIn. So excited to share this with all of our followers. So awesome.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Have a great day.
Thanks.
Let's shuffle up and show me your tech stack, where every episode is a high stakes reveal of the tools that are aces in our guest book, where chips are down and digital decks are on the table. Are you ready for the best in class tech? Let's deal these cards and see what comes up. Who's ready to double down on digital innovation with me?